Hi, Vinnie. This is Ayaz. Good to be with you again. And Ayaz Kazi, for those who don't know me. And it's an honor to be on your show. It's
Yes, thank you. Thank you for joining me. I'm looking forward to this.
this is awesome. For those who don't know me, I'm tech product guy. Started out as a programmer, then sold my soul and walked over to the dark side. Did product marketing, product management. Eventually, ended up running product at different organizations. And for those who know me from SAP would know that I was involved in bringing HANA to market. And then at Google, I did Google App Maker and then went on to Banco Santander to be the chief platform officer. Prior to SAP, I did TIPCO. I ran the integration business. And all these things that I just last four that I mentioned are important to the startup I'm building. And that's what I'm here to present today and talk to you about. The startup's called rtZen. rtZen is to bring Zen to your finance operations, and RT is for real time. EN is for bringing all the things that the largest companies have, democratizing that for cash management, AP automation, AR automation, bringing that together to everybody else at a fraction of the cost, democratizing that and bringing that to in a modern stack. And the
Very
Z,
clever. It's a very clever name. Uh,
yeah,
do you
thank
take
you.
credit or do you have some brand manager pay,
Well,
pay
no,
millions?
I have to take my own nerd credit for that name. The Z, the Z is also an optimization problem, maximize Z. So bringing that, that's why it's in capital. And it's written as a currency that does a hat tip to a future network play, where I would have both payer and payee on rtZen. And the Z is basically bringing maximize Z problems, which is given a set of inputs, how do you maximize your outputs? And we're bringing that concept to the office of the CFO and finance and cash flows. So let's talk about, since we talked about CFOs, what's the reality today? Poor cash flow management. And everybody says cash flow is king. That's the cliche, but it is very, very true. It's a cliche that's true. 82% of the businesses today fail because of poor cash flow management. And you'll see that those who can't manage their inflows, outflows, and timing of flows are not able to sustain a business. Right?
So, quick question.
Sure.
So is it focus on the treasurer or is it on the more traditional accounting side of the CFO?
All of the above. So
Okay.
we talk to the cash management on the treasury and cash management side. We talk to the AP automation, the people who are paying vendor bills, managing vendors, and people who are doing collections as well from a customer and so on the AR and receivable side. So this brings all of those pieces, and we're talking about effectively this is I call this the Maslow's pyramid for CFOs. They get stuck at the bottom and they're not able to, or the office of the CFO go about. They get stuck behind the eight ball, right? And that's kind of what this is. They're tactical operations, and largely in spreadsheets that they're passing from department to department within finance, across finance into the other departments, hinder their progress in terms of not having any real-time operation. That's sort of what we're talking about for finance bottleneck.
Are
First
you going to talk
fundamental.
about, are you going to talk about your competition? Because I would think the
Yes,
treasury function is
yes, we will.
a different set
I'll,
of vendors, right?
I'll talk about it when we get to the artisan
Yeah.
difference. Right? So here I'm sort of still laying out what the issue is. So there's an operational and accounting data disconnect, right? And ERPs know how to operate with GLs and accounting codes and GL codes, but businesses that run operation, finance operators don't operate by accounting. And basically, this is the trifecta that they're trying to manage, and they're managing things between all manually and with copies of data, multiple processes, manual processes between the banks, the payment providers, vendors, and customers, being able to pay money, being able to receive money, and their accounting systems. And so that's the first fundamental problem. Second fundamental problem, they don't have a single command center that can look across all of these. They have to go into each of these silos. And even within the functions, within AP, within cash, within AR, they're all silos. Right? And none of the look at this is how does the bottleneck play out within the systems when you're taking sort of a landscape view of things. All of these are temporal, they settle separately, they settle at different times. And they're all transactions and transactional flows that all happen at different times and are point transactions. They're not strategic, they're just trying to get something done. right? And to be able to
But
manage,
you're right, they're point, but they're predictable, right? There's a flow to them.
there is a flow, but it's all done manually today, right? Largely. And one outcome of this, which is your problem number three, we talked about the disconnect between operational and accounting data. We talked about no central place to manage this. And the third piece is finance is a rear view mirror. Because of all this stuff, finance is
Because of the delays and so on.
it's reactive. The whole idea is how do you take finance from the dark ages being reactive and doing things after the fact to bring it to proactive, which is more current real time, then take it to predictive, and then the next part of the journey is how do you have agents and other things prescribe what you need to do. So taking it from all the way from reactive to prescriptive, that's the journey that we are on.
Okay.
Right? That's the journey any company needs to be on. So these are the pain points. This is when you lay out those three things, that leads to very little visibility into cash position, missing missing payments and or delaying payments and paying fines, working capital pressures, and no control and insights across it. And you can see missed yield and liquidity options. So you're not able to optimize your cash to the best need that you. So we've talked about.
To your previous slide, there's a Hemingway quote where a character is asked, how did you go bankrupt? And he goes, at first gradually, and then suddenly. So you may want to use that in
That's awesome. I love Hemingway. Also, one of my favorite movies is Midnight in Paris. If you've seen that, it's a Woody Allen movie, and there's a character plays Hemingway in that as well. But it's awesome. That's awesome. I will use that. Thanks, Vinnie. And if you look at this, so why us? Who are we, and what do we bring? So artisan, pronounced as artisan, like craftsman. We are an AI powered, so AI first sort of SaaS platform, and we soft pedal the AI piece before. We've been doing this now for 3 years, and we wanted to come in and make sure that there's specific use cases that we can tackle and show the value before we talk about it, right? But now we want to make sure that everybody understands that that's what's driving the automation, the visibility, control, and intelligence across your finance operations. Right? So you saw that gobbledygook picture, but we sort of the person tearing their hair out. Well, we sit in the middle now, trying to make sure that we are that unified command center that can connect to everything and make your flows a lot easier, right, for the office of the CFO and for your operations. Another way to look at this, when we looked at the landscape picture, and this my background comes from TIPCO, which was business integration, and then SAP. In early days, I did integration as well through the NetWeaver platform. This is taking bespoke integrations and making that into putting some sense and putting some structure into it. Right? You make it easy to connect to everything without having to worry about it, and making everything streamlined through your organization, through your applications. And what's our difference? And you talked about, so first of all, we started with specific use cases from an AI perspective, from an automation perspective, to take away the mundane tasks that people are doing today, right? And in that premise, there comes the changing the way people have looked at this. Sort of instead of trying to just put in workflows and put in things that just do integration, this is thinking ahead, making sure that you can look at things slightly differently from an AI perspective, look at learning, supervised learning, look at generating without people having to do the grunt work, generating the categorizations and the rules needed for being able to do this. So it makes explainability easier, it makes management easier. Sorry, go ahead.
As you made a statement earlier, you're moving from rearview mirror to more prescriptive. It doesn't show up anywhere here. I think you should emphasize that more and more.
Fair point. Fair point. So that sort of is implied in the AI powered finance, going from reactive to reactive, proactive, predictive, and then prescriptive, right? And so I did talk about sort of an AI agent type of thing, which would then bring the prescription in and getting you all the way to to predictive first, be able to do your forecasting, etc.
Keep hopping on that throughout the presentation if you can.
Okay, that's great feedback. Thank you so much. And then the second is everybody looks at this as silos. So there are competitors in the AR space. There's the Bill.coms of the world. There's competitors, there's the Tipaltis of the world in the AP space. There's competitors in the AR space, which is the Tesorios of the world, the high rates. And of course, there's the ERPs who claim that they all do this, right? My aim is to provide a connection across all of these. And the way we have architected is it's a best of breed suite, right? I come from a world that was all suite, all in one, versus, and also at Google, understanding the value of what it means to be modular. And we've sort of brought in a modular approach, which is a unified command center across AP, AR, and cash management. Ideally ours, but doesn't have to be ours. You can bring in other pieces that you're happy with. You don't have to replace anything. We come in, we can take down one module at a time or just be in for one module. Right. And so that way we're building a composable suite, if you will, for the customer. And then it's built for the office. So no developers, no IT needed, no services needed. Straight for the office of the CFO, for them to be able to use. And looks drop dead simple, might think that it might be for small businesses, but it's ready to scale and it's built for the largest customers as well. So we have customers right now who are in billions in revenue, and we have customers who are in the low millions in revenue, right? So in the teens. So we have both sides of the spectrum, and we'll talk about some of those customers. So we talked about now the sort of now getting more into the depths of it, which is we talked about AI powered finance, purposeful, purpose-built AI for productivity and efficiency. So on smarter learning workflows, let's imagine an AP automation uh, worker or a manager who's going through bills, who's annotating bills, adding GL codes, deleting line items from detailed line items. Instead of 10, there are 7 that they want to delete 3. Next time somebody comes to that same bill, they will get suggestions to say. So it's learning everything as you go. So that's deeper machine learning where we are doing supervised learning. And on from a Gen AI perspective, what we're doing is there's a couple of areas that we are focused on. One is being able to provide a conversational interface, which now matters a lot because if you take a look, let's again take AP for a minute, and your vendor bills are coming in. We have a conversational interface that manages vendors, bills, and payments. So you can actually ask the system, and you can ask using our Ask Me Anything, the chatbot, saying, show me all the bills, or show me the last month's bills, or show me anything by vendor. Now, what we found from our customers is while we are going to give that also to our vendors in the vendor portal for them to ask the question, so it reduces the burdens on our customers. Our finance teams that we are working with at the customers are saying, you know what, this is great. More than the vendors, my business owners need to have access to this so they don't call me and bother me. And that's perfect because now that's the so in between the vendor and the finance team is the business owner, the PO owner. And so the PO owner should be able to ask the question and communicate with the vendor any status that they want. Then comes and these are things that AI is very good for. So picking the pieces which you will not get fired. Like if you try to pick AI to do your bucketing in terms of which bucket does something fall into expense, or it will get it 85% right, and that's not the place you want to be using AI. You have to be more deterministic than that. Right? And so that's why we don't get into bucketing of categories, etc. with AI. We will create rules to do those bucketing, but that's on the cash categorization, on the cash management. So there are places you want to use AI. The other places, you be very careful of anybody telling you they're using AI because that will get you fired as a CFO because it will go into the wrong bucket at some points, and then you have mayhem, right? And so the other thing AI is really good at is looking across, like scaling the number of patterns you can observe and doing anomaly detection, right? So you want to pick the things it's really built for, and so
So
doing
tell me a couple of use cases you have. I presume
so
fraud is one of them.
fraud is clear. The timing of payments. So if by let's assume that somebody from inside your organization is filed for a PO or for a payment. If this is the first time that they filed for it, the system will alert you, saying that's the first time. And if it's an amount that's more than X% of what threshold you've set, the system will alert you, right? And then if the timing is off, if the bill usually comes in November, but now it showed up in May, and or if there's an address change request that's come out of the blue from the vendor, you typically want to go make sure that this is not a spoofing attempt, right? So fraud risk, other anomalies and patterns in terms of you can also detect patterns where you might want to go and make payments early, right, and get a discount for that. So you want to pull out those type of potential opportunities. So system can alert you saying, hey, here's a vendor who's willing to accept something for lower, and so those are other types of patterns. So anything to optimize your cash flows, right, and keep you from getting into trouble. Then we go to the automated help desk, which is another great use case. Support is a great use case for Gen AI and Gen AI specifically. So we train based on so every AP manager spends at least 2 hours minimum every day talking to vendors over email, right? And the back and forth is the same question, different vendor. Where's my invoice? When am I going to get paid? How much am I going to get paid? It's the same set of questions. Or please attach my invoice to this. Please, where's my remittance? We will automatically respond to all of that and create the response ready in the inbox for the person who's working with that vendor to be able to send it. And eventually when they're happy with that response over and over again and they have not tweaked it anymore, they can say automate this and it will automatically send it as well. The same pattern applies on the other side, on the AR side for collections, which is
Are
even
you,
more important. The
are you,
quicker sorry, go ahead.
do you have any digital agents that can do these low-level tasks?
Yeah, so that's what we would have as a part of this, right? The automated help desk would do that. It would not just create the response, you could also send the response automatically, right? And right now we are taking a crawl, walk, run, which is let's create the response. Let's make sure the person who has to send it looks at it, tweaks it, so we learn from it. So then that supervised learning comes in as well, which is now any tweaks they make, we know what kind of changes they're making as well. So we know how to factor that into future responses that we create, and then those are automated and sent. Yeah, so those are in theory, those are also the agents that they would use and send that.
There's Salesforce had a very good use case for Wiley, the publishing company. They customer service when a lot of kids go back to school end of summer spike. So they're using agents to do the seasonal work. So I don't know if you can apply that to if
Yeah, you can.
customers
You
who
can.
have spikes in AP invoices, maybe an agent could do that.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. So now you're talking of what we are doing is we are doing being a co-pilot effectively right now.
Well, this is
Right?
more than a co-pilot. This is actually
No, no, I get it. I was going there. We are being a co-pilot now. We are helping a
right,
human,
right.
right? Next step is to actually mimic what the human is doing and add that as a member of the team, right? That's an agent. That's where we are headed to. Make sense?
Yep.
Cash management is you've got multiple bank accounts, whether they're within the US, multiple locations or multiple currencies, being able to see all of it in one place. Your real-time cash position across multiple locations, currencies, banks, etc. Your ability to attribute that to specific cash categories that are different from GL categories, that are your defined categories, custom to you, any number of levels deep. At the highest level, it's inflows, outflows, transfers, and uncategorized. But then under that, and even that, you can define it however you want, as long as there's an easy way to set up rules to categorize your transactions. And now think of this as all the banks we connect to having a giant bank statement that's categorized. Now by categories, you can see the grid view, which is the cash tracker, by the month, by the week, however you want to see it. And of course, you can drill down from all of that into the actual transaction, right? So this is stuff that customers have taken hours to build, and we'll talk about one of these customers when we get to the customer section. Like, anywhere from 20 to 50 hours. And the problem is the next day, next week, when they start this again on a weekly basis, there's no learning, no automation, they're starting all over again. And here, this, as soon as the data is in, the stuff is already ready for them. Right? Cash forecasting the same way, more and forecasting in quarter and next quarter, we'll see that even on the AR side. And transaction search across all of your bank transactions to be able to look for either a particular vendor, a particular amount, particular business unit, being able to see all of that. On the AP side, now we talked about it earlier, invoice capture and being able to approve multi-step approvals. And again, we sit alongside an ERP. We do not replace the ERP. We don't do accounting. Now, AP has 4 or 5 steps. It all depends on what the customer wants to do. Typically, we find they want to use us for the invoice capture because the ERP does a piss poor job of it. They've not actually figured out how to do a good OCR, and on top of that, an AI component on top. And most people, actually, other vendors, when you talk about, they're passing off OCR as AI, which is kind of interesting, right? They were doing OCR and suddenly they're calling it AI. But there is AI and heuristics applied on top, which
Just like RPAs become AI too. So
that's right. That's right. That's exactly right. And so then intelligent approvals, some automated, some based on the rules that are being set by the customers. Again, it's custom to them for payment flows, for bill flows, for templates, being able to create templates, all of that.
three-way PO would be PO, invoice, and receiving record, or
Goods received notice, yeah, or anything else you want to match. And you can do one way, two-way, or three-way. That's customizable, right? So we write three-way because that's the highest, but you should be able to do any one of those, right? And then automatically sync with your GL or whichever ERP you're using, right? So whether you use QuickBooks, whether you use SAP, whether you use NetSuite, Workday, Sage Intacct, Microsoft Dynamics, all of that we plug back in, and so that you don't have to do double entry and your books are all taken care of, right, from there. And again, we don't do accounting. Whatever you have to do for accounting, you will do that in the ERP itself. Right. And then we talked about in the AI piece, we talked about the vendor help desk, the back and forth that goes on. Same with on the AR side. Most of the companies that we're starting, we've talking to, and I talked about an insurance marketplace, they're not able to apply their cash. Like we've seen different patterns. One is just there's too many inflows, outflows, the volume is high, the dollar amounts are low. They're not able to catch up and apply cash quickly. They're trying to do it manually, they're trying to do it with spreadsheets. It's a pain. So being able to apply cash so that they can close their books. Right? Otherwise, they're not able to use the cash, they're not able to know where it is coming from. So we auto create the matching invoices, and then there's a triage process for where they don't match to be able to get to that. Automated invoicing. Now, some of the things are where ERP does well. So we will just go by what the customer wants at that point and fit in the gaps where the things don't work. Right?
as you mentioned, a number of vendors a few minutes ago, right?
Yeah.
Everything from SAP to Quick Intuit to Sage to NetSuite to whatever. Couldn't they? This is the last mile for them. Aren't they doing some of this stuff?
Yeah, you know how the inertia is, right? They are doing this. They're not modern. They're not modern stack. They're clunky. This is not an area of focus for them, right? If I used to work 10 years at SAP. This is classic. I mean, they can do this.
Too small.
Really, they can tick the box, but we are coming and helping you not only maximize your investment in the ERP, but also modernize your interactions. Eventually, they will fill this gap, but they will not, most likely not build it. They will probably go buy a few vendors in the space.
Okay.
This is a gap. There's a lot of companies that are trying to do it at the silo. We are the only one who's going across. Right? So that's across these three different things. Collections management and current and next quarter forecasting. So what are our benefits? One-stop shop, if you use all artists in one place, and command center, visibility and control, right? And then insights across. So real-time visibility into cash flow. You don't have to log into multiple accounts, Most importantly, it's not just the view, it's also the release of payments, it's also the movement of money. Doing it all from one place in one secure control center, right? So that you don't have to set up these accounts on banks, etc. We've had customers, CFOs tell us, hey, we had a person leave. Thankfully, they left on good terms, but we only found out a year later they were still a signatory on the bank, right? And that's a compliance issue that you run into. So this allows you to manage everything in one place, right? And all your tactical operations, getting that out of the way so that you're ready to do strategic stuff. People ask, does that mean I have to fire my people? Absolutely not. You're looking to grow. People will can move to strategic stuff. What is more important is you now are setting up, these people have been with you for some time. You're giving them uh, better roles for them to do. Plus, you now don't have to, as you grow, you don't have to hire many more people. This scales without you having to. That's the biggest advantage. And we've had a customer who lost 4 people before we came in because they hired high-end finance jocks to do the stuff who came from fancy universities and really looking for great roles and ended up doing mundane stuff like updating spreadsheets. And they eventually quit. So this is an employee churn problem as well, an employee satisfaction problem as well. So we fix that. And then insights into your finance operations, how you can streamline your spend, reduce your vendor fraud, the things that we talked about. This, if you notice, this is written like the MasterCard ad. It's two of them have numbers and the third one is priceless. The MasterCard ad I thought was brilliant, where they talk about taking your kids to tennis classes and buying them sneakers, and those are all dollar amounts, but bonding time spent with the kids is priceless. I thought that was brilliant. So it was a meek attempt at trying to do something like that. And when we talk about our customers, we've found that we've got now traction in the QSR franchise industry. So I expect that that would apply not just to food franchises, but any franchise locations. Multi-location is very important. Multi-location, multi-unit, multi-brand. I think that's the pattern that we are seeing. And uh, they're cash rich businesses, but they're also low margin cash businesses that their cash matters. It's very important for what they do on a day-to-day basis. And we are bringing a bunch of their brands. We will be looking to automate the organization entirely. They own about 1,300 plus stores today, and they have a sister organization that we're talking to as well that owns another few.
So is there a vertical focus, mostly Silicon Valley types, or?
So we are looking at non-tech as a key vertical focus in some ways. Aging businesses, generational businesses that are now needing to automate. So we have one that is a bottling company, the PepsiCo bottling company, where the grandson of the owner has brought us in. He used to be involved with the company, but now he's moved to other things. He's doing his own, but he's brought us into the new management, and the new management is looking to automate, right? And so we are automating their whole AP invoice to pay process. And so this is generational shift in businesses. We're looking at those. We're looking at franchises, multi-unit, multi-location. And of course, the tech is tech, as you can see, two of them are tech here, DataStax and WorkSpan. That's a given in terms of the background that we come from to make it easier to have these conversations as well.
And on the AP side, you're not going after T&E, right? Not not a,
Not yet. Not yet. It is in the wheelhouse for the longer term. It is not mid to longer term. It's just an extension. If you think of what we are able to do, we're able to read bills and make sense of them, right? From using both OCR, LLMs, all of that, right? It's not a stretch for us to, and we can read any kind of handwritten notes, etc. So it's not a stretch for us to say we can actually handle expenses. That's when we take on virtual cards, corporate cards, expenses become a natural extension to that. So one step at a time. I have a roadmap slide that I haven't put up here that talks about the 3 pillars and the modules in each one of them. It's the first time in my life I have a roadmap slide without a timeline. It's we put up here's what we're going to be working on. And if you're interested as a customer, let us know which one of these. This is what we have ready. This is what we're working on. We will prioritize based on deals. I'm a startup. I'm going to be I'm getting ready for my next round. We've already raised our seed and we've got paying customers in production, which is the best thing you can say. And I'm getting ready for my next round. So that should give you. And then of course there's this disclaimer to make sure that everybody understands where we come from. So we have nothing against spreadsheets. We love spreadsheets. You know, that we tend to find that some of them go away when we come in. So who are we suited for? Some things that are operational and cash flow focus, multiple locations, currencies, subsidiaries, multiple banks or bank accounts. Like one of our customers has 70 accounts in one bank, and then they have 8 other banks, but they're using us. Even with that one bank, they're using us instead of the bank for their cash management operations. Right? And then it's manual billing today, or they're doing double entry between their billing and automation, or invoicing to their ERP system, getting and struggling with any ERP integrations, and inefficiencies in cash application on the AR side. So we would be able to get started right away. And we work incrementally. We spend about half an hour, 45 minutes with the customer every week, and go from there. There's no services, there's one SaaS cost. There's no developers required other than going through the SecOps if it's a larger company. And we've done SecOps across maybe one of the largest security companies in the world. So I think we're pretty confident of. So I think if we have time, I can walk through one of the customers' data stacks who
Yep.
SaaS business with, like, this is now on the treasury side, exactly what you were talking about, right? So this is the cash management piece that we built for them. We built a cash tracker for them that allows them to view this. So they buy companies were across multiple countries, and then that becomes a subsidiary. Each subsidiary has its own accounting firm. The CEO wants to see a weekly view of the cash inflows, outflows, and the cash statement, which the FP&A person builds for him. And the process was because they went to the subsidiaries, and subsidiaries said, well, we can't give you, the accounting firm said, we can't give you the data on a weekly basis. We'll give it to you every 30 days or the 15-day offset. So they went okay, how do we do this weekly thing? So they went around the accounting firms, went to the banks directly, got the data from the bank into one giant spreadsheet. So now all transactions came into one giant spreadsheet. And the AP manager went through it from Monday to Wednesday. Uh, from Wednesday to Thursday, the AR manager went through it to categorize transactions, down to the detailed level, even within AP and AR. And then the chief accounting officer, Arnulfo, got into it on Thursday. And then the FP&A person picked it up on Friday. And then if the CEO chat was lucky, he would get it by Friday evening, maybe Saturday morning, right? And when I walked in, I said, okay, what you have going on here is Groundhog Week. Basically, the next week starts and it's all same all over again. There's no learning, no automation, and depending on the mode, you might characterize these things wrong, right? So, and it may end up in the wrong bucket. So we automated that whole thing, being able to get it from the banks, being able to set rules for the transactions so that we could then that left very few uncategorized, and we kept whittling them away, right? And then so now it's all automated, and that's a savings of 20 to probably at times 50 hours, in the sense if there were things that they were trying to research, etc., in a week. And that's across 4 different people. And this
And
is just
like you said earlier, it's a multi-company
yeah.
scenario. So
Yeah. And this is international too. So they get their reporting across different currencies. We convert it on a daily basis and bring it back in and all of that. So that should give you enough of an indication. This is me, and this is what we'd love to see for people who want to contact us. So to be able to start a pilot, and thank you for this opportunity. This is awesome.
hey, glad to give you 20, 25 minutes. You did a nice crisp job. So thank
Uh,
you.
Thank you for that. This is awesome. I'd love to hear back from the people who watch this show. I'd love to get feedback, how we can be better, how we can improve, and even better, how we can come help them. So we come in our processes.
Hopefully they'll become early customers. So
Awesome, awesome. I mean, we come in and we just listen to. I don't usually do this pitch. I first talk to the first call is usually just understanding where their pain points before going in and then talking about. Then we can tailor it to what matters to them.
But thank you for doing this. Appreciate it.